Good morning, ladies and gents. Welcome to Crypto Chat UK. Got a few articles I want to go through today, including an article about Bitcoin's birthday, 10 years. I know it's nearly about a week ago or so, but I haven't been able to go on. I've been that busy, it's been crazy. But this article also talks about 5 things needed for adoption. Just the 5 things according to this article. I think there is other things that need to be discussed, but certainly they make a good point and they discuss some really good issues when it comes to the adoption of any of the cryptocurrencies, but perhaps particularly Bitcoin. There is something about Bitcoin propaganda as well. There is some serious propaganda going out there, and I do want to cover that and actually answer some of it as well. I do think one of the other crypto YouTubers has already covered it, but I do want to mention it in here in this video. Okay, there's also some other stuff about Coinbase that I want to look at, and a Coinbase video that I really think you should all watch. I think it explains it all in less than 2 minutes. It basically gives you a good understanding of where we're at and where we want to be when it comes to the cryptocurrencies. I also will look at the market, so we'll have a look at coinmarketcap.com and we'll check the market as well. But let's have a look at the Bitcoin being 10 years on. So 10 years old, 5 things needed for the mass adoption of Bitcoin. Now this article discusses the fact that it's been 10 years since Satoshi Nakamoto published the Bitcoin white paper. Now, if you haven't read the Bitcoin's white paper, I do suggest doing it. It's very easy to find online. Go and have a look at it. But it talks about a decade on, the cryptocurrency now being worth $209 billion globally. And there are more than 1,000 separate tokens in circulation. Now, I do think there's too many tokens, some that are just not worth and probably will go into the history books and fail. But the main priority ones, they are the ones I look at. I always stick to the fundamentals, so I suggest you do too. Don't forget, not a financial advisor, so have a look at it yourself. Make sure you look into it more and see what's going on. But they talk about also the 5 things that perhaps are needed for adoption. Regulation. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the article completely. If you want to have a look at it, it's on bitcoinist.com, and it talks about the decade mass adoption of Bitcoin. Okay. We also talk about the volatility. Now, this year hasn't been the same volatility. It's pretty much been higher percentage of sideways movement. We're currently down to about 200 odd billion since the highs of the 700-800 billion it was worth at the beginning of the year, but we're still up from last year, earlier on in the year. So we are looking pretty good, in my opinion, at 200 odd billion. But if you have a look at it, also it talks about practicality, usability, and accessibility. And this is what we talk about, the fundamental use cases, and actually making it easier to adopt, making the usability easy, which is really important. But also it talks about, because obviously accessibility is important as well, but it also talks about is security and understanding. So education in the market, education of it is very important. Although you don't need to know all the fundamentals when it comes to the blockchain and cryptocurrencies, we definitely need to understand it to a degree where we know where it's going, we know its use cases, we know its value for the future, and we know its value for people around the world. And if we can comprehend that, then perhaps we'll be more inclined to start using it to the degree we need to. Obviously, we need the technology to mature a little bit more, and we need other things to go. I won't read all of that either, but if you do want to check that article out, it is well worth a read. Okay, now I want to look at this Bitcoin propaganda. It's absolutely ridiculous, crazy. Everybody jumped on this. It's about Bitcoin predicted to be the nail in the coffin of climate change. So they're saying Bitcoin alone could push global temperatures over the 2 degrees C catastrophic threshold by 2034 if the cryptocurrency gets adopted at the same pace. Now, obviously they're saying increase of usage, the mining going on, and how much energy use it takes and so forth. Now, a lot of these have jumped on this. Telegraph.co.uk, so Forbes, Washington Post, Bloomberg, etc., etc. USA Today. Some of them are very reputable. So it seems crazy that they've copied this article over and done what they've done. Okay, but if you look at this, this is some facts on the actual environmental costs. So the comparison of annual environmental costs. Now there is some other articles out there and they're all varied slightly, but they're within this rate. Okay, so if you look at it, these 5, gold mining, gold recycling, paper currency and minting, banking system, and Bitcoin. You look at the tons of CO2 they produce, and Bitcoin is not only at the bottom of this list, but is way down. I mean, 0.6 million compared to the banking system's 390 million tons of CO2 produced annually. You know, they do talk about some other costs, including the comparison of annual socio-economic costs and stuff like that. But if we concentrate on the environmental costs, which is what this article was talking about, and saying it's a catalyst for the end of the world, basically. Absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe they try and spread that FUD. Surely they don't think people are that stupid. But if you want to have a look at that, it is worth checking out. You can Google it. You will find information there. And as you can see, Bitcoin mining is well at the bottom when it comes to environmental costs. I do think with being a modern technology, we should be looking at alternative energies. And I think that should be concentrated on worldwide. And it is actually happening. I'm going to do another video at some point. And there's some stuff that's going on in Iceland where they use an alternative way to save energy and so forth, and have less of an effect in the environment and the CO2 it produces. But I'll do that in another video. Okay, now let's have a look. So if we want to just quickly check, and now we're on the Bitcoin idea, with the fact that it's his birthday, here's a little bit of negative news or negative feedback from Arthur Hayes. Now Arthur Hayes is the CEO of BitMEX. Okay, he does release a lot of information, and he does talk about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular. But this is his view. He said his view is a volatility environment that exists right now could persist for another 12 to 18 months. So it could be flat for this period of time. He started in Bitcoin in 2013 when the price went from $250 to $1,300, and then 2014 to 2015 was sort of a nuclear bear market. He says the price crashed, volume crashed, and it was very, very difficult to make money. So if you're talking about a speculative aspect rather than a usage, then obviously as the market went into a bear market, it was very difficult. And this lasted a long time. So yeah, I tend to agree with him here. It certainly has been most of this year, and I can see it going right into 2019. Some changes may occur. There might be some education which might increase, but he has got a point, and let's see how this goes. I think at 2019 later on, certainly something good will happen, if not sooner. But let's see, let's check it out, and let's see what happens. So there are some reports of other OTC dealers and exchanges letting go of employees because obviously volumes have fallen and they hired aggressively. So I think in 2017 the people perhaps hired aggressively, companies did and so forth, because I think there was an air of that worldwide we were getting some mass adoption. So it was going up to a stupendous rate, and the reason it was going up and the reason we were getting so much investment was the adoption rate going up so much. But I think what you've got to realize is people were going on a speculative level, thinking that they're going to miss out, but not taking the time to understand the market, not taking the time to understand cryptocurrencies and the blockchains. So I think that's very important. I think as that increases, we'll get more of a steadier growth, and adoption will happen in a different way, not just speculative adoption. Okay, so he also goes on, having followed this space since 2011, we've seen a number of different cycles where a large number of people start to get interested in technology. It kind of winds up and then winds down again. The market is blowing off steam right now, and he thinks the market is probably going through some healthy consolidation, but he does believe the long-term trend will be greater adoption of Bitcoin and similar technologies. Totally agree with him on that. Obviously, you've got to play the long game anyway. Let's see how it goes in 2019, and we'll see what happens. I can't see there being any big growth coming up to Christmas. It's not far away now, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so the other thing I want to mention is quickly, Coinbase now worth $8 billion. It raised funds to accelerate crypto adoption. So this is a good thing on the other side of it. This is talking about education and other things. So they were pleased to announce that they had an additional $300 million investment at a valuation of $800 billion to accelerate the adoption of cryptocurrency and digital assets. Now Coinbase is, some people moan and complain about some of the fees and so forth like that, but it is there at the top of cryptocurrencies and is pushing for education on it and increasing the availability, the usability of it. And I think they may bring some other avenues, maybe even some other types of fiat gateways, as in use cases. And let's see what happens there. But certainly, even the kind of service they offer now is substantial, of course. They're right at the top. They are right into cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And by doing this, the value says it all anyway. But by doing this, they are going to be looking at educating. They talk about a lot of things, expansion strategy of Coinbase and so forth. If you want to have a look at that article, that's on bitcoinist.com. Now, what I want to do is I do want to show you the video. You might not be able to hear it, but you can see the words on it. So I'll put this video on. It's only a minute and something long, and I think it says it all in such a short period of time. But here we go. So
billion people in the world today who have a cell phone but don't have access to any financial services. What's really powerful about cryptocurrency is that it lets anybody, if you just have a smartphone and internet connection, participate in the global economy. I think a lot of us in the United States sort of take this idea for granted that if someone gives us money, it'll be in our bank account and it's not going to disappear or be taken away from us. And that's really a luxury that many people in the world don't have at all. And today only about 40 million people in the world have cryptocurrency. But this is just the very early days. And I believe within 5 years, 1 billion people in the world will have cryptocurrency, and it'll shift from this investment phase to the utility phase, meaning people actually using cryptocurrency to buy goods and services and transact in the economy. Cryptocurrency is going to be a great democratizing force for the world because it's going to level the playing field. I believe that access to financial services is a basic human right.
See, there you go. Now, I think that kind of says it all, what I've been saying for a while. But also, in just over a minute, it does explain how it can impact the world to a large degree, huge degree. But also, because of its value to society worldwide, it will have a value financially. So it will grow, as far as I'm concerned. And it will create assistance and help for not just people in the West, but people all over the world. Okay, so I want to have a quick look at the market at the moment. Just a very brief look. Currently, Bitcoin dominance 53%, so it's staying around that 53 to 54%. It's stayed there for quite some time now. Current capitalization is 208 billion on the whole market. Bitcoin, if we have a look, hang on, we have a quick look at it. Just refresh that page for you. And if we have a look, it's currently $6,300, just over. And you can see we're in some greens. Bitcoin Cash, for example, that's one of the biggest growths in the last 24 hours. If you have a look at it, 14.99%. I do think because there's a fork coming up for Bitcoin Cash, that is potentially a big reason for this growth. Because if anything like the past has gone, anybody holding Bitcoin Cash, when the fork happens, will get a copy of the forked coin. So perhaps I was thinking about buying some more Bitcoin Cash for that reason, to be honest. And I think it is a good strategy, and it looks like people have done that. There could be other reasons as well, but these are the growths in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin Diamond, for example, grown nearly 10%. Anyway, guys, I'm going to have to go, but if you did like the video, please hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. That's fine. Always up for some criticism. If you've got anything you need me to cover or look at, give me a shout, let me know. Also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget, I am a fairly new YouTuber, so I can do all